tutaan sulang yang diawan mayo taliw gira na nguluem amaklat kara baldo ang ma bada sanga abi badian bilskidra al tutaw igida ako trule en sodong ateal mosus raibdul maraklay marubugul belaw bilung mebi raklay mar masil belaw President Senate Hokons Paules marugul senators Speaker Anastasio marugul delegates marbek الجفرنورز ليتورز توغبت السوسرجيد المربك الأدر بلاو النغارا بلور بلاو النغارا أيان المرهات شريكي مغارا إخرا بلور بلاو الأجيد سلوك نصبر لو جوا مليديو لو رنج سرجيد الأل توتاو إجدا ملدي بوسر بلور بلاو ممكن نخسر بريس كونفرنس سرجيد رأوه دي لوريور مقوم سولان على أدرا ميديا لو بنجد الأل توتاو لوك نسيد الغارتيان كاسوس كده غاري عمل توقبت سلوك يخسر غاري كده الألسيلز الجيا مغتطال دو أيش راسين بلور بلاو الأكمل دي غريد الجيا أوكي يخسر غاري كده الجيرة لا أسيل تقول بلاد بقلي لوريو را ديجيتال ريزيدنسي من قال روباق كان أنكليلا مستر تشانغ بينغ زاو ngang CZ ngi ma stafrina Miss Gwen ma Ming adara circunvalir do modernas en Binance tira gadamle shogar tira mirablur bela modamena asulil el mirablua del alsil se maqpoli trate ale bay mo modo toram brigel logorati mo shogari emrgo gida a continue a press conference gida gel bebira ukti al adara awliul هذا سبرا بس ترى تعلم اللي هو دول ممرجة رأي الممرول على سنغرير. Well, first of all, a very good morning, and we want to, on behalf of the people of Palau, CZ, thank you for accepting our invitation. You and your team, Gwen and Ming, coming to visit us in Palau. We are excited and looking forward to a strong partnership. As you know, at the end of December of last year, Palau passed into law the digital residency program. And really, at the beginning of our term, our goal was how to diversify our economy. We can no longer just be dependent on tourism, which is our main source of income. And in COVID, we saw how we were impacted. And we want to thank Cryptic Labs, our partner, and Brill Wang, for beginning this journey with us, to use blockchain technology to help us create this digital residency program. And I think what we're all about is about freedom, about the freedom of letting people invest, trade, do what they need to do to enjoy life to its fullest. We started the program with high aspirations. We say there's 7 billion people in the world. Why not 7 billion residents for Palau? But you know, we should always dream, and you know, one of the things that I always just share with people is we want to create opportunities for our young people, and opportunities require new ideas, new innovations, and harnessing those technology and innovation and trying to create opportunities for our people. So one of our challenges is we've had so many young people in Palau move to the United States in search of the American dream. We want to create the Palauan dream, where we can encourage our young people to come back. And having you here, CZ and Binance, opens that door of opportunity to develop new industries, new businesses here that hopefully can bring our young people back to Palau and be part of the new technology and innovation that's out there. So we're excited to partner and see how we can develop the right ecosystem and the right environment, regulatory and laws put in place that can take us to the next phase in the development of this new industry for Palau. So really, we're just grateful for the time that you're spending here with us for a few days. And hopefully this is just the beginning of many more trips to Palau. But I know we had a very brief glimpse of the Rock Islands yesterday, and hoping to take you out for more trips. I know your time here is very short, and I know you had the opportunity to meet with our members from the OEK because one of the things that we have been working with the OEK is that digital residency is just one component, but we have to have other laws passed to create that ecosystem that fosters the development of this new investment opportunity and business opportunity for Palau. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, and senators and everyone else here. Yeah, we're really honored to be here, first of all, and also I've been extremely impressed with the little bit that we saw already, which has been better than most other places I've seen. So I think we're honored to be invited to participate in the future growth of Palau, and I believe the Palau historically has been relying very heavily on tourism. We would like to contribute to that, but in addition to that, see how we can help Palau to grow other industries that does not limit itself to natural resources and target a global audience using new technologies. So I believe the digital ID, digital residency program is a very innovative one, is a very symbolic and meaningful one. So we're also quite honored to be providing the technology platform on the underlying blockchain technology for that, the BNB chain. And I think Brio and Cryptic Labs, right? Yeah, so very cryptic. Has done a tremendous job, and we're very happy to have this partnership to bring this to the next level. And we're also very honored to be able to participate, to work on the regulatory framework with you, with yourselves, and giving our input, our experience, and our know-how. So we feel very privileged to be able to, as an industry player, to be able to participate in that process. And we also feel very confident given the opportunity for us to do so. So I think we will continue, given that we will continue to increase our presence here locally in Palau. We want to, in any market we operate, we want to make investments both locally in the blockchain industry and also in other sectors that are outside of the blockchain industry. So we would definitely explore further investments in the Palau ecosystem and the industries, and we seek your guidance in terms of which industries are the best. And we have already expressed our interest in investing in outside of crypto, traditional financial service sectors, including payment services, digital banks, etc. And even in the tourism industry, we have invested previously in traveling apps like Travala, and we would like to see how we can bring those synergies here. And on the tourism side, I think metaverse is a very good way to advertise in the future. It's still new, and we would love to see how we can bring those partnerships to here. We have many we don't develop metaverses ourselves, but we have many partners in the ecosystem. We would love to bring them here and have more in-depth discussions about how to do that. We will also love to contribute to the educational efforts both on the island and of the kids that may leave the island to go to universities. We will love to extend our Binance Scholarship Program to residents or citizens of Palau. Lastly, we do have a decent active charity arm, which we would like to throw into the mix to see how we can offer that. Yeah, so I think we have enough to start. I believe we have enough to start on a very positive note. We have enough concrete actions that we can do. As we partnership together, we will explore more opportunities to grow further, and we look forward to build a very long-term partnership and friendship together, and many more trips to come. So this trip, I think I've only seen a little bit. Now I'm hooked. I'll definitely come back for more. Yeah. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, thank you, CZ, and The idea was to hook you, so I'm glad that it worked. Yeah, but it's really about growing together, and we need partners that can help us all win together, and developing together. And thank you for your commitments to help us with education, especially our children. We have the Minister of Education here. It's so important to develop the human resources and to help us provide. There's nothing that transforms lives more than education, and we're all a believer in that. And so thank you for your commitment to that. One of the things that Palau has to offer is the beautiful environment, and because of that, in developing new industries, one of the things that we want to do is develop new industries that have low impact on the environment. And I think this fintech industry, the blockchain technology, digital residency, all what we're doing here is innovative industries using technology, but very low impact on the environment. So it goes along with our goal of protecting our environment, building a sustainable future, and helping our people. So thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so
And
much.
there's some members of the media here.
Yep.
So we'd like to open up and just allow them to ask some questions. Yeah. These are local media here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Tab. My question is, why Palau? What potential have you seen of Palau? And is there any, you met with the lawmakers, is there any concrete agreement, concrete steps that you are taking from your visit here?
Sure. I think, so why, first of all, why Palau? There are many advantages and some disadvantages for Palau. So we want to leverage the advantages to the max, and then try to minimize or control the risks on some of the disadvantages. I think, well, actually, I can be very direct about the disadvantages. Palau is a small population. It's a small island. That's the from an economy of scale perspective. That's a disadvantage. But luckily, there's many advantages even with a small size. The smaller economies can experiment more. It's easier to control. When things go wrong, it's easier to control the losses. For example, if a project here failed, we can actually reimburse many of the damages. That will not cost us as much when we do that. So, and small populations, small countries, small nations move quicker. Smaller boats turn quickly. So the innovation capacity for small nations is quite good. Palau's economy is very similar. Is kind of U.S. driven. So it's a fairly developed economy. People are not super poor, etc. So that mimics the industrial developer worlds to a large extent, and this is a very good prototyping ground, and this will benefit. I believe this will benefit both Palau. It will put the Palau at the forefront of technology innovation, and also allow us to use that. Whatever works here, we can multiply in other larger geographies. And today, especially in the blockchain industry, location and size and physical boundaries doesn't exist anymore, because we now have the internet. We're now in the blockchain, and there's really no borders. The physical borders, the physical size limitations of Palau disappears. So we can use those what we initially called disadvantages to our advantage, and so that's on one side. And then given that Palau already have a digital residency program that's being piloted to a large extent, it shows the progressiveness of Palau already. I think that goes to show the leadership, the government here are innovation seeking, and that is a very, very strong sign for us. So we like to operate in countries where the leadership is pro-innovation. And for Palau, I think Palau historically has relied heavily on tourism, which got hurt pretty badly during COVID. And I believe even till today has not fully recovered given China's not open yet. So embracing new technologies sectors, new virtual sectors that have very minimal environmental impact and high scalability is the way to go. So we would love to explore that. And so I think all of those things match. So even though some people may ask me, hey, Palau is 20,000 population, why do you go there? For all those reasons I stated, that's why it makes sense for us to be here.
And I think one of the things interesting we had a discussion about is it Binance Pay?
Yeah.
The idea of, we're small, why not encourage merchants to accept crypto as payment? And Binance has 100 million customers, and maybe they want to go on vacation. Why not come on vacation in Palau? How do we facilitate that? So that's the opportunity that's there.
Yeah.
The synergies that are there. So, and we can start it as a small scale. That's the advantage that we have in Palau, small scale, and then, it's really about experimenting and seeing those opportunities. So, yeah.
Yes, good morning. Actually, the question is more to the President. You mentioned that there's other aspects of that legislation that still need to be expanded. What particular legislation are you looking at right now to further expand this digital residency program and the services?
Well, I think there's regulations that we need to work on within the digital residency program, but more importantly, the Corporate Registry Act, which is we've referred back on PD1, and it's good to have commitment from Binance to help us with the regulatory side to make sure that we look at possible improvements to it to make sure that it's solid, and it's never perfect, but at least as close to being the best it can be. And so that's one area that I think the sooner we get it going, the better. And OEK is waiting for the executive branch to take care of that. So Minister Udoy and our legal team is working on that, and hopefully we'll have more help coming to help us.
Just a short follow-up on that. This is really new industry for a lot of people in the world, and especially for us here in Palau. So one of the questions that's been posed, perhaps to lack of knowledge on the matter, is the issue of transparency and the possibility of the services being used by bad actors, such as anti-money laundering and stuff like that. So I know I've read a little bit on the Binance and the efforts to control that. How are we? What works do we have in place to ensure, as you mentioned, that we will not be this will not be used by bad actors and perhaps even ruin our reputation in the financial world?
Well, I think one of the things that we already have on the digital residency program is we do have background checks. But even in talking to CZ, we can further enhance that. And I think that's what this partnership can bring is how to do further checks. Because I think for all of us in this sector, because I say Palau is now part of it, we want to make sure that we're protected from money launderers and keeping out those bad actors. And so it's developing that regulatory framework, putting in the proper checks. And maybe CZ, you can help me on what your thoughts on that, because
I can address that, and also specifically with what you're probably referring to, the Reuters article that was like a week ago. So I think the two words you mentioned were transparency and bad actors. So in the blockchain world, transparency is very high. The blockchain contains a copy of every record, and everyone can have a copy of it. It's public. So given that level of transparency, we find bad actors don't live on the blockchain. They don't use blockchain technologies. And a recent report by 𝐁𝐢𝐧𝐚𝐧𝐜 confirms that. In that report, 𝐁𝐢𝐧𝐚𝐧𝐜 is a software It's a blockchain big data analyst firm used by all the law enforcement around the world, including the FBI, the IRS, the Interpol, the Asian police, etc. So in their report, that says in 2021, only 0.15% of the crypto transactions may be associated with illicit activities. United Nations published a report at the same time saying that 5% of money around the world, maybe money transactions around the world, cash, banks, may be associated with money laundering. So it's 5% in traditional finances versus 0.15% in blockchain, crypto. So it's 30% less likely on a percentage basis. And if you look at the size of the industries, crypto is much smaller. The traditional industries are 100 times bigger. So the percentage and the size in traditional industries are huge. So this has to do with the transparency aspects of the blockchain. I can give you another example. Bitfinex was hacked for a couple $1 billion in 2016. The hackers held on to that crypto until early this year. In February, they used it. In 2 weeks later, 1 week later, the two hackers got arrested in New York. So this shows the level of law enforcement's ability to track this blockchain activities. It's very, very sophisticated now. Regarding the report that came earlier a week ago about Binance, Reuters calculated, or I don't know, Reuters published that 2.35 billion US dollars have been associated with going through Binance. It's a very precise number. It's up to 3 digits. We asked them for the list of transactions that's included in that 2.35 billion, because blockchain is public. Now, every single transaction is on the blockchain. Every transaction have a transaction ID. We asked for them to provide us the list of transactions that's involved. They did not give it to us, so they were not able to provide any evidence of that. On top of that, we tried to make 2 of our cybersecurity forensics team available. Both of them are very senior law enforcement. One guy's name is Tigran. He was the lead law enforcement agent cracking down on Silk Road. He's the guy who arrested the Silk Road founder. He now works for us. And the other guy's name is Matt Price. He's an ex-IRS law enforcement agent. He was a senior agent on the Hydra case, which is also a very famous case. So both of them we work very closely with law enforcement. Our team just works with the ex-colleagues who are the law enforcement. So we find the article to be groundless and untrue, and which we have debunked very heavily. I do believe Reuters is a very reputable publication, but even in those publications, the majority of the journalists are very good. Sometimes we get a couple sensational ones that publish certain articles. But that unfortunately is the case. So we've repeatedly asked for the list of transactions, which I think is the holy grail of this new blockchain technology. If you say there's 2.35 billion, there should be transactions that support that. They couldn't give it to us. No.
The question is maybe for Cryptic Labs and maybe also for the president. I saw that the Voyager Pass happened last week. What are the benefits of this Voyager Pass, and how many people have bought it, and how much money did that earn the Palau government?
Yeah, so to this question is the Voyager Pass basically offers the digital residents, the future digital residents, right? Kind of like a way, because there's a certain speed that we can, process this like approvals, right? So what we want to be able to like involve more people who can holding this pass. And then in the future, when we have like, the services available, for example, proof of address, which is very limited, right? If we can offer, for example, like 1,000, right? We can offer to all the digital residents. And then there's a sequential order of, if they hold a Voyager Pass, then they kind of like, this is also our first experiment into like, NFT, right? Kind of like try to see how this can play out, right? So the benefit of the Voyager Pass is, when you hold that one, you can basically like redeem 1 year of digital residency. as well as you can like use that as your like priority access to our future offerings like addresses, e-cooperation, banking, like all the futures benefits has to offer.
It's a pre-approved resident.
It's like a token, like the
Yeah.
PUCs, you buy the token, right? And then later on you can redeem for a digital residency when we have the capacity to process those applications.
So this brought the number of digital residents in Palau, and how much money has it earned? the
Oh,
Palau
so
government?
yeah, we basically only minted around like maybe 1,000 of them. Just this is basically only offered to the previous interested party. We haven't like done like a massive marketing on that, just as a trial to see if this redemption ever works and what's our processing speed. Because right now the applications, because of the background check, is all like processed manually by us as well as Ministry of Finance. So we don't want to to open like too much of a size yet.
No. Last question.
Last question. I'll do a last question. They seem to have asked all the important questions. I just want to, on a personal note, to ask if you have had any time to enjoy the other sides, the wonders of Palau, like the Rock Islands or anything, and if you plan on doing so.
Yes, I did have the pleasure of going out yesterday to do a dive near the rock. What's the name?
Oolong.
Oolong, yeah. And we saw a lot of triggerfish, a few groupers, I think, and then we saw a small shark. So yeah, that was I haven't done this is my first diving in about 12 years, I think. And so it was a beautiful experience. And we also had lunch on the
Beach.
on the island, small island. So bump into a few friends, local people. Was fantastic. I think I haven't had this is probably the first time I had such a relaxing time ever since Binance started. So I definitely look forward to coming here back for more. Unfortunately, this trip I probably will not be able to see the pink jellyfish, which I'm definitely on my bucket list to do and see. So I'll come back a lot more. And also, given that Binance and many of the crypto firms work in a remote fashion, so people can work anywhere. And also given that Palau now have the second cable in, and even with just the first cable, I think the internet speed feels pretty good. So we would encourage people to work here a few months a year, so boost up the tourism industry, and we can push that message out to today 120 million people. Hopefully more in the future. And actually, that's our users. But in the industry, we actually have quite a lot of other coverage ways of covering, delivering a message. So we want to make this the crypto, what do you call it? Crypto vacation destination. Yes, crypto paradise. Yes, yes. That's a good term, actually.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
President Whips,
Yes.
pardon me, they've been teaching me how to say good morning in the native tongue, and I keep botching it. So Onir
Look
Tutal.
at it, give him the mic. Yes.
Onir Tutal. Did I
Yeah.
get that right?
Yeah.
Onir Tutal. Great to connect with everybody. I formerly interviewed you with, this is not working. I formerly interviewed you with Impact
It's working, it's
Crypto
working.
and FinTech TV in the bedroom when you were rolling this out.
That's right.
And yeah, so it's a pleasure to connect, and I'm grateful for the extending invitation. Our question is, what do you need from Washington? And I'm saying that from the perspective of looking in your papers, I had seen just different requests, one of which was 100,000 that it looked like for a FinTech Innovation Center. And we're happy to contribute that on the impact side. But I'd love to know from a KPI standpoint, and with respect to what Mr. CZ had mentioned, he mentioned two numbers that stuck out, 1.5% and 5%. And given around $100 trillion of U.S. assets, about 1.5% of that is managed by diverse.
0.15%.
Well,
0.15%.
0.15%. That's your stat. I was saying that less than 1.5% of U.S. managed assets, 100 trillion, is managed by diverse asset managers. And I'm extremely passionate. We're extremely passionate about enfranchising Black, Indigenous, people of color throughout the American ecosystem and across the world. So we want to know, how can crypto entrepreneurs, how can Washington, how can Silicon Valley, and how can the entertainment industry really, really be supportive to making this pilot and a project truly part of the Web3 revolution that truly democratizes access to capital and contracts in a way that traditional capital markets and traditional finance has failed.
So you're referring to Washington, D.C., right? Well, you know, the United States is a great partner for Palau. And if anything, we probably ask them to stay out of the way and let Palau develop its ecosystem, right? But we do need their support. You know, Palau has a close relationship with the United States. Has a compact of free association, and as you can see, there's a lot of soldiers in town. We have military exercises here this week, and I think that's one of the, from the security side, we have that covered. But what we need to be able to do is figure out ways to. I think many times people fear crypto or anything to do with the blockchain, and sometimes the regulators, because of their fear, become stumbling blocks. And so what we want to be able to do is work with them, partner with them, and allow us to work together. And we know we know that there may be stumbling blocks. We may fall, but don't automatically say, oh, there's 2.5 billion that was without basis, right? Because it's about reputation. It's about we all want to do the right thing, and it's about it's opening up opportunity that's been somewhat restricted, and this new technology allows that opportunity for everybody anywhere to participate, and so because we're small, we're willing to work with partners to take those steps. And we need our friends in Washington to understand that that's what we're doing. We're not here to create a place where we can launder all the illegal money in the world. That's absolutely not what we want to do. Well, there's lots of legal money that wants to do the right thing, and we want to be able to facilitate that and help the world facilitate those transactions so that everybody can benefit from it. So, the reality is that we need financing to do things, and so we're thankful to the United States that they do help us financially in our other arrangements. But this is about developing the private sector. So allow us to develop the private sector so that we can also feed ourselves and not be always asking for partners and donors to help us. Amen. So that's really what this is all about. And so thank you for your question. Yeah. Any more questions?
Jack, introduce yourself to the president.
You can get the mic. So the mic is so that it goes through the camera. It's not so much for the noise in here. Yeah.
The battery will come out.
No.
Don't put the battery.
There you go. There you go.
Hi, my name is Jack, and I'm also recently from the US. Now I live in Tokyo. I have my own blockchain startup as well. And I've been working with Alan and Martin on some of the interesting initiative. And also, I'm also a part of the e-residency program, which I find very interesting. And I really think Palau is one of those almost like a frontier country where, like you said, right, there's a lot of innovation that can actually happen here very quickly. Like he said as well, you can pivot quickly. Now, what I'm very interested in is what I would say right now in the Web3 space, metaverse and all, there's a lot of lack of infrastructure that can support all these companies like mine. For example, I have been trying to get a bank account for my company for the past 9 months, and I cannot get it from anywhere, right? So, and that's why I think with the recent initiative to pass the law for digital bank to support any kind of business, including crypto and blockchain company, that would be great for a lot of companies like mine, right? Things like that is just lacking also company registration. I mean, I've been trying to figure out throughout the legal system, trying to make sure that we're legal and protected at the same time. Because there's so much of uncertainty right now around in the world, where if I register, let's say, in one country, maybe in the next month, it become illegal, right? And that is what really blocking the innovation. I mean, if you have all these people with all these great ideas, and they can't focus on their work because they have to focus on becoming legal, making sure they can, pay their employees. Like those kind of things, I feel like is what really need to be solved. And that's why I'm very, very interested in Palau, because like you said, you're working with Binance, you're working with all the different parties, with Cryptic Lab to come up with ideas and really looking for solution to support all this innovation that's going to come in the future. So I'm just glad to be here to listen to you guys. It's been great.
Well, thank you. And yeah, it's unlocking that opportunity.
Yeah.
And Bill, if you want to comment.
And just one comment on that is the crypto regulations around the world today are still pretty nascent. Most regulations focus on KYC, AML, centralized exchanges. If you look a bit broader, if you look at NFTs, digital IDs, metaverse, there's very few regulations about that. So I think today, the way we look at things is it's less about what regulations are on paper today, but more of the attitude of the regulators and the attitude of leadership in different regions. So that attitude ensures that how the future regulations may be written. Are they going to be progressive or not? So you still have to make some educated guesses. Yeah, so that's how we operate, and that's why we came to Palau. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? You can introduce yourself and yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for hosting us. I see there's a few digital resident people, the new folks of the Web3 era that have made it out here. I myself know it's 41 hours of travel to make it. So, yeah, thanks for hosting. Also, thanks to my wife for letting me do the trip. My question is for you, sir, Surangel. What can private sector do to help a country like yours, whereby most people think that charity is too far away or too difficult, or you have to travel all this far, when really there's a fiber optic cable connecting you to the rest of the world? And just as a testament to ourselves, meaning we met through a LinkedIn, right, almost a year ago now, and here I am today. And so, as an entrepreneur that wants to be social and give back, what are some things, just action items, that people like myself and potentially these folks here can do to help your country in a time of need where possibly government, doesn't always step up when you need them to?
Well, you bring up, thank you for that question. So two things that are happening for us. One is I'm actually leaving on Monday. I'm going to California to meet our friends in the philanthropists in the conservation space. Because one of the initiatives that we're doing in Palau is trying to build on the Blue Prosperity Plan. And the Blue Prosperity Plan is basically our conservation investors are helping us set aside money to make sure that we can continue not to fish, but allow time for proper planning, because Palau has the largest marine protected area in the world as a percentage of the EEZ, and to come up with a more durable and lasting plan. So some of our friends, we talked to said, here's $1 million to help you on that journey. Also, the same thing that they've done is some of our friends have helped us on renewable energy. And we can share here. He's a crypto person, so it's Chris Larson from Ripple. He said, here's $1 million to help you on your tuna project, and then he said, here's $1 million to help you on your renewable energy. And on renewable energy, as you know, with Ukraine, what's happening in Ukraine and the price of oil, we're all hostages to energy. And having renewable energy gives us that freedom. Once again, we need freedom and not being held hostage. And so one of our small islands here is going to be 100% renewable. And what that does is it actually helps the rest of Palau, because the power company is dependent, it has to supply everybody with power. And the most expensive power they supply is out to those remote islands, but the rates are all the same. So by being able to take them off the grid, and diesel now reduces the overall cost for everybody in Palau, which is so critical for, energy is so expensive. And you want to be able to keep people's lights on so they can do their homework, right? But it's, it's projects like that that really have, I think, help help the people. And it's been hard for Palau. Palau, in the last 2 years of COVID, had to go into debt, large debt, through the ADB to just keep going, keep our government going. And so we would like to move faster on a lot of things, but sometimes we just have limits. And so it's good to have the private sector and create new businesses, new opportunities, because that can provide the base that we can improve education, healthcare, and people's lives here in Palau. So, yeah, we're excited about this new opportunity, and congratulations all of you for being digital residents, and we hope we're working for that 7 billion, hopefully, in the right, Brill?
Are those limits that you mentioned that impede being able to those limits that you mentioned being able to move as fast as possible, are they for the most part financial?
Yeah, for us, financial. So one of the challenges we've had with the Corporate Registry Act is we didn't have enough money to hire the proper technical staff and regulators to go through the documentation and try to help us from an outside perspective, because we don't want outside regulators, whether it's to shut us down and say, now you can't move money in and out of Palau because you've stepped on the wrong, you've done the wrong thing. So yes, it's financial. I'll be straight up. It's fine.
No, and that was essentially the question, right? Because this is what we're about: impacting diversity and being at the forefront of democratizing access to it. And I do think it's important, as we're all proud to be part of this 𝐤𝐸𝐺 community, and grateful for yourself and the finance leadership for putting this together. But we love KPIs and real numbers, right? So I know you mentioned $1 million commitment. We definitely want to match that commitment in terms of being a part of catalyzing social impact ventures that are focused on preserving marine life, and especially the marine life that is necessary to sustain human life in all these islands. And me, this is my first time in this part of Micronesia. Again, I'd been to Australia for the Indigenous Festival to support that community and presidential candidate there, but we weren't really taught the importance of preserving marine life in the reefs out here. And it wasn't until the past couple of days till one sentence of a 7th grade history book became real when I met all these soldiers and people that said, look, these reefs protect us from hurricanes and protect us from environmental calamity. So consider us, impact, and would be happy to get people in our network invested in ensuring that these marine aspects of life that really ensure that all of our lives around the world are productive and fruitful. We want to be a part of that, and as well as contributing to the community of entrepreneurship here. And I'd love to hear specifically, again, if maybe CZ, you drill down in them numbers, right? What level of participation do you think America is obliged or should be targeting in terms of being able to enfranchise Palau and other areas of Micronesia in terms of investment? Is there numbers that you're specifically looking at that we can help target and execute?
I don't have those numbers today on top of my head, but we can definitely work out those numbers soon. Yeah.
Well, no, thank you. Thank you for your support and your commitment and seeing what we're trying to do here in Palau. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think $1 million each at least.
$1 million each, he said.
Let's give that a round of applause.
Okay, well, thank you. And we still have more items on the list for our press conference, so I'll continue with our media, but we can meet up later.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having
We're going
us.
to excuse you, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I don't want to keep you here for another hour because they sometimes take a little longer.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, thank you,
Thank you so much.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Di kita amle di ibu setiap lamre kal tal sande, walau di mana kal di ibu tal sande lega kada di mira a sande mera Wednesday. Kada mlora blura Fiji. Tiya ko ramle kais amru lang kita kami am dengel rogulo ase kada mga katal al adadu kita mara adara Pacific Island Forum. الجيران سيلوك جدا عملت تلبيل الجيدا رجول أدرى مايكرونيجيا التوري سيل ماكريوس كوميونيكي الميرور بلار سيرا عمران سين أكتوبر 2020 التريال president عملتي ما president المقصاوي ساينغري ese ملقى التكليل واسي السوق من تملمول مرتيال أورورين يلتي عدل داخل أدرى مايكرونيجيا المرادر تيال البي اف يقدر توابده من كذا ديم لو مركسل ديسيجن اللي لو بونا المورا ومرادل يقدر من هذا سيل لو التيرق رايجل تلبيل الواسع كذا توابده لان ديم لغ المطيرق للتلبيل ديم لغريرا ديم لغ اللوس دين ملاري سلويل الدور هذا رجل الواسع جنتلمنز اجريمنت من لو التوير سيجيد يقدر تيال يد الرجل أضل ما يكون يشاء والدار سيجل وقدول تناقل يموت توابده دي سلتام المرلا مول من غير الدادو ما ميرال الدادو المول مسلتما تما الجيرة توابدر ونيرو البويل التلمود ترونيتو سيملو تلدي مسكمان مع المو ونيرو البويل سوما كليتيا من مرلا الدادو المو يعملوا سيمتيام غرادو سموكري المونير ربك لاف جيدا من المول مرسل تيجي عشان دي انجيل التوب ده جيدا مسويش دي ملول توي رسي قد تيلا بدل مورا فيجي لو سي تي لاست العددو اللي مويل بوضع ابان رويرا هذا بوضع كبي اللي جيدا سيل دا وقتي دغرا زوم مغران دغل سال ويسل بوضع ابان قد مرينا سوليلا government of Australia Mesendra skogir tira Air Force tira me otrak belau otigir belau emol mora bolabe otigira President Panuelo egim net magal mora Fiji magada mlarsera gotrurior mongerurior low meeting egida ma ngwil selva abang la adadu ngora beotrigida mo ngil gao dengay di kadam lo mga taklil wasaya tigida position argamam mga ukmo tabdi sel lul de sura sem makarata kay ngasew mo ngir arbek la mong no tob da yelul de suir egida agotru ule tial gingal la alta agire le derrak awru le derrak kan sel mul mul ngalak le derrak ma gotru tabdi wasay me donit malol mol mengkal ngara adrual rela malol mol mel rogir sele derrak din dia kalut malol mel ngala karsay الوايجل دي ملا مومريغل 3 plus 3 موال 6 بس يعمل لغة تلودرسي توسين دي مورتيان امرغو مو اوي من دي قدنورا الالسيل سين دي قدنورا 18 تلرغ ما تدوب انا مداد ايجي تاو ونيرون اتملو مغتقليل واسي دي قدو otungira al ulti al blay lo hace mom el mol el adal mortial drual rotate magot en Micronesia leim rak en ukmuluk mora Palanesia Melanesia leim rak mo de gadlutel mo kamondalo hasen tagiren ngari bertak lo hasen elang temna Micronesia gaduk mo mora Palanesia mora Melanesia تدريغ النوضة كيار سيل واسي سيل مين الأوفيس أموري أنجل مريض مارتيرو لغاري ولورا غاري أول دبوتي جاسة ديبيوتي سيل موضة غرتي تبول دغل تيدي It represent Tiger Kildel Bulu, Polynesia, Micronesia, Melanesia. Malalso mong SG adara Polynesia, trigal deputy Melanesia, Micronesia. Mong bekal time ang ngari awal sel ngareda magida wal gabangar al sel tial al debe leng sel blo desang awaset kado tokora wal trigibel kado aroid. Trigal ulda kalmut bebiral beskid. Tiginiel waseng mori obis. Obis ra PIF el trigal ngar tial North Pacific ngara Micronesia. Obis ngari aradal maudodal ng matmokari. Direk al mlogongay luase agad mo mingi sel ngar alelengel Secretary General al time Secretary General Ocean Commissioner. Mungubet sel Ocean Commissioner moiliak gado gut mukli obis ra direk al sel Micronesia engel got Ocean Commissioner atop na Micronesia. El momor rasel got sel bonia meeting ra pifra July 12 المناي تأييد التلبيد المومور سيد التايم من دي قدونيل مو مريكا 18 months say immediate مليوتورا يجر روغويا يا قدم لي هذا دول الدلالة ما يكون يجا سي كده دي من سوادا اس جي ويزنقل سكرتاري جنرال دي no wal tribal mlamyo tial SG kada mangila derrat na umrega te do persel time de galut lang alak persay gadam na ngusay lam ma bebira igay del teal el niya ma wal uk relia Micronesian mo CCL adal tial al debel ma minister ay taro mnetingelo se al sum gadam ra ay kadung dosa sa kadim omla ramlui sa dame kado ba malui sama atogu ma kaskas ma ayer rogo lo bangel mo kada merenga sulira sel ngiaw ngilul do swir tirgal seli ngara PIF el rase ngiria del malmos margid ngiria del mutes misi ser clau marara drolet ma umra se tulul dar sa igan mergid el murur seguid el toy من يصير يسألون ولد الويل ما كلاو مرة هذا رولد من سيدر تماغل اللودنا ما يجي بتوقع هذا البانغ climate change البانغ كوفيد البانغ أوك structural security را تيال الأريا رجيد من أباي كلاو تطلع أم قاعد دول داغ رجيد المطمق يبغى داغ يقدر من سي من غمرال واسه سيم لام قد مقل التلبي لا الأسئلة اللي الدلالة تيال التايهيول الموت لوجس هذا الويل اسميسي من الموت الممسيسي هذا الويل رجدر رانغ رامول الميل باي الموت ممسيسي على المو من برنا سولة لغبرمنت أستراليا راو كوميتمنت ترتير لولداغ رجيد ما ديرغل نقول سوتريل جيري لايغال اوبيس تير مار أدرا نيوزيلاند بعضهم مقلة ومرا لو هسه تملا نقول هسه داك يقدم سيسي بتتمغل لو مسير جدا لو مسرا تريتال جدا سيدا تتمغل أورول رغول اللودل الأدرا باسيفيك سيغورا دي update رابطة تورا PIF Maria question Bernadette, did you understand? I wanted to make sure that Palauan people understood how we changed. We made it very clear that Puna out, Palau in, right? So what happened? What did we agree to? I think the most important thing is it's about unity of the Pacific, restoring trust and building a stronger, unified Pacific. So we first of all thank the chair, Prime Minister Bainimarama, for inviting us to Fiji to have a face-to-face meeting and try to resolve and find a best path forward where we can all benefit and move forward together, stronger. So we had asked for the SG immediately. The request was, can we give it to you in 18 months? So Puna will no longer serve the normal 3 years plus 3 years. They will now at the end of his term, the first 3 years, a Micronesian would be placed. And now it will be part of the PIF and very clear that it will be rotational. So we don't have to argue and debate this anymore. Micronesian, then Polynesian, then Melanesian, and it will continue to rotate to bring the Pacific together. I think that's the ultimate goal. Not only that, they added that at the PIF level, at the main office, there's going to be 2 deputy secretary generals. Right now there's only 1, but they have 2. So there will be a total of 3 people at the head office, and they will be representing the regions, the 3 different regions. More of bringing solidarity and bringing people together. Not only that, they also agreed that it's time that we set up a PIF office in the Micronesia region. I think that's an important step in also bringing us together, because sometimes we feel that we're forgotten, and this is about bringing us together. And lastly, they also made the commitment to split the title of Ocean Commissioner and Secretary General, and agreed that immediately at the PIF meeting in July, that a new Ocean Commissioner will be appointed, but from Micronesia, and an office will be established in Micronesia. So I know it's not what we said we wanted, which was Puna out, Palau in. No. But I think what's more important is there's a timeline. And now we have a mechanism and a system that really brings us together and shares the responsibility and builds that trust that we lost and brings us back together. And we really thank all our friends in the Pacific for their understanding and their commitment to, at the end of the day, say, we understand. I think that's what was clear. We understand that sometimes we misread, we misunderstand, and we want to create a system that can bring us together and avoid these conflicts in the future. And that's and restore the trust that we need to have as Pacific brothers. Because like I said, we have so many challenges. Climate change, we need to be together. Oceans, we need to be together. COVID, we've done that. Security, we need to be together. So we have many challenges in the Pacific, and building an economic and prosperous Pacific requires all of us working together. And we believe that by coming to this agreement has created and built a stronger Pacific. So we thank the leadership of Chairman Bainimarama and our friends from the Pacific and Triorca to have the political dialogue to find a way forward where I think in the end everybody wins, and that's what it should be about. So that's our update on the PIF. I don't know if you have any questions. Yes, go ahead.
So, Mr. President, malungi la reporter Tomek Telum Rolem. Tel korati udah swim la say tiang tel attention ma focus ma energy malasam lol da kara Pacific ang jaka ang trigger the tel lomrole la sinal mesois para Pacific. And that's an opinion, I guess, I'm asking from you. And then, kung le kora ado kami material via President Punal, kaya sa ngara kora ngara la ka lobi sa murkel belura Micronesia, lubeng kwa se te ngara aldado raw.
Okay. So halak pak answer ay lobi sa Micronesia. Se aldado ul uktimo Micronesia decide. Ay gal fiber belu ay giram el mit. Mro ka decide asing gradomia ay gal ngara. Meng semo mula aldado rin lagi blabom lagi mo aldado emergo rula meeting ram lega giram lodar sru era July 12. So ngirel motoka kuro ese gidel time magi giram murura meeting ram girel say sel gel girel waseng because mro visit minister asina ule kada murura iga dia ka gumda so Tia makatatal Cedro Seng mondar gid malum gadablir girel tel toy. A deadline amle elal endra June. Segal di momalil wase aktil urtil wase al sumen degal elal week mo besani la October belao maran mon morales ben akmem namo July abelam latom. Dagim lutel extend la dagim lutel musaadle nam dagim omrar kami waiga amle tegi ngeden mortir maule to ase mada tegi da temed medre lirelang agi odor klas kogi lego lor tagar kami mem da aba mang oy maybe baby rablu ome seni lo sento kora seni andi tia atingi la pacific agi da tagar gid umra lo ase un gal chairman era current chair a forum ase bestel tretar dogi ungi atsung sada masama kortiang abodo dak ya da abang la da do mang sia ula kadam lo terkira se sia ungi tretar dogi ungi kita al adara igal aliun sa de shishu dos per ser ungi la dura drong le mang esel da abang la eng beot kita masam okla to koy sel di tangara dengwa ma igal video de kalsal lo shishu to ayer kautu tren mi garel meeting radi dronglev ada du o sigira un telbil do yung sulang
Presidente 𝐿𝐷 di to ay gal bebira blura telu to po tel pa condition block telu tigi do tirale ngila ara selmo de swemmen tira tele ma condition block musisi aklo la tel bebira blura tigi ngali gele wa teli gasina ani gel guk digi del adra di ako ko sa the micronesian block ang unified ay garo tingel el mora tele clol PIF
Goger selva belinga la a Marshall Island.
yeah
Oh, okay. Ndega kumbra lo asera tra Marshall sa mal lungi la ulda suir. Ta bada mes Marcel wase kama dega chaman mamlar tel al drual al waisel wal gasiba numir kama. Magumbra lo asa ulat tel blada katmakli amral win-win for Rebecca. Yung mga kada de imle insiste mergo ngutial gingal relang. Ito yung nada wal kasi ba ndirigit. Tiang aba maskita time kada transition mong Rebecca de di kita ulam nasa dan maraba bela table sa da gal toy ng sel mle al dalela micronesian mle adrulet magaloro. Ako gumbra lo asen gagaro sa osangef. Ra tetelelan magat mo claudio di in the end kadam lot magarogo asa tegi daral dog yung im kada mrenga sulit tiget sele dara marshal su uklo ti selu do swir wasing kadam mo cristiano mo mul et magal militar tialo sigir selung Israel mo ra sedi dara Marshall Islands a dimlar sei actually un tera present ra Marshall semlar sei a minister silk gel minister environment tirma fisheries ngiam larsay lom te ertir mung gimlet magale kaldel blura FAS el larsay amno degal se el me presenter aquí bas en man ne masang ma presenter na oru leng presenter na oru ay gal blul ngari parliamentary ay get tribal titol aklo me se ga ay ga di ngari di ngari ra bek time ay ge tige ko adi o degal mesel ngari parliament da sit to dra blure de di umran lo sa tanong se este present panuelo mga sa amlom ertire igida da dura dengwa ma zumelen ora de gida ta adamlet magal adar mal connection mur tel to mang kadamre ngasulir even though present ma tigal pe present adiga kasal tama bla destrir di tial kamangal tam gidi mga zoom ada dur girel tel to gol meranga umra lo sing lama magim sisir mage mga dur tial andala pif ma ula kada mlora kada mesar de el celurio el alsils so sia crisi el cel da sia vai gedro litri al sablu basen boda da o kire la gal to gol issue gida face whether an oceans and sanctuary gida gedro da gar gidle ela gida o kire del modo dura blada sem grado li tanga som grado la ya boda da kada ba imal toy to ka se der mu Okay? Digo eso hace makparal mo dibus. I'm going to be gone. I'm meeting the Minister of Finance at Hawaii. We're having a meeting with Bank of Hawaii, the CEO of Bank of Hawaii, discussing how we can possibly begin the idea of a stable coin and others. But that's just one area that we want to look at. And how do we improve and how that may impact what they're doing, because it should be about partnership. So we need to look at how it would impact them. I'm going to California after that, and we'll meet other Conservation International. They asked me to attend their board meeting, and the members of the board of Conservation International are philanthropists that help us. So on these ocean issues, so we really appreciate their support and thank them for inviting me to join them at the board meeting for 2.5 days in LA. And then from there we'll be traveling to Lisbon to attend the UN Oceans Conference. And then I won't be back until July 3rd. But that's why we have the ministers and we have the vice president in charge. No problem, you're in good hands. And of course, we're always connected via Zoom and phone. Dirigal Sadro Ais Rase Gel Ambassador Peter Adelbai on Tuesday presented his credentials to His Majesty the Emperor Naruhito of Japan. And if that's no more remaining questions, yes, yeah, and I'm sure you have the next press conference in a couple of weeks to ask the Vice President lots of questions and the ministers. But thank you, and you know, there's we're also grateful for the public servants for always all they do. El alsil seng tanjobi. So let's congratulate Alilay Ngirmang, ng Ministry of Justice, or Vice President. Madirigal Mike Plesam, ng EQPB. So let's wish them all a happy birthday. Wish other bela Manuel Sils. Adios sa all mol makaltanga travel wab. Arbekla other blue bela kuman bisulang until we come back. Thank you.